Welcome to Courageous Protectors, the podcast where courageous people share their stories. I'm your host, Lou Arnold II, and every other week I will bring you stories of people who have overcome the challenges of life, displaying resilience and strength to us all. From the coffee shop barista to the company CEO, join us as we share the stories of everyday people and explore what drives them, how they stay resilient, and what we all can learn from their courage. This isn't just a podcast. It's a tribute to the courageous protectors among us. So settle in, stay curious, and prepare to be inspired. Welcome to Courageous Protectors. My name is Louis Arnold II. I am so happy that you are here to joining us today. Today I have another guest, another special guest, Ashton L Wilson. Ashton and I go back many years. Ashton is a good friend of mine, an awesome dad, an awesome, courageous protector. How are you doing today, Ashton?
I'm good, brother. And that was nice of you. Normally you're making fun of me, but it's a good day.
It's a good day.
Having fun. It's a new day.
Hey, you know how we do as brothers, man. If you don't poke fun at your brother, sometimes I wonder if you even care about him, right?
Right. For sure.
Yeah, we only make fun of people that we care about. Hey, man, how's your day been so far? How's your morning been?
It's been good, man. I started out the day meeting with my pastor. We're planning a men's conference at the church, so that's awesome. I'm just a little tired. Been demoing my bathroom and trying to get that finished. It's a slow process.
Yeah, definitely understand. Doing work around the house can get busy, but there's always a project, right? We're in it for the long run.
And it feels good. It helps you feel more like a man.
Yeah, that feeling of accomplishment right after you conquer that task that was ahead of you.
For sure.
Yeah, brother. So what we do here, as you know, we like to encourage our listeners and our viewers through our story.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can, Ashton, can you just start off at the beginning? Where did your story begin? How did it begin? Take us on that journey, brother.
Yeah, so it was a great start to my life. My mother lived in, I want to say East Walnut Hills when I was first born, and her and my dad got together. So some of my early memories were in Gulf Manor, Ohio. We lived around a lot of Jewish individuals that were in our neighborhood. Actually, the man that lived above us was Jewish. So got to know a lot of different backgrounds of people living in Gulf Manor in the 80s. And so those are some of my earliest memories. And then when I was probably about kindergarten, we moved out to Evendale and kind of started my journey in the elementary school there. So by that time I had a younger brother, Desmond, and interesting thing about us, we're born on the same day, 2 years apart. So my dad said he wanted chili on the days that he was ready to conceive us. So, it was a good start to life. I have fond memories growing up. So that's kind of how it started in the beginning. My father's from Slidell, Louisiana, and my mother is from Hillsboro, Ohio. Around 5th, 6th grade, she moved to Cincinnati. So been in Cincinnati most of her life. And my dad came here for work as a pharmaceutical sales rep on the animal health side. And they met here. And that's kind of how the thing started for me.
So one brother, you said one younger brother, Desmond.
Yep.
So is that all you have, is just you and your brother?
Yes.
Okay. That's awesome, man. So throughout your childhood, can you take us back to your experiences and how those experiences affected who you are today?
Well, I'm reminded of the scripture that if you train your child up in the way they would go, you will return to God. And I see that kind of manifested in my life. And thanks to God's grace and mercy that he's pulled me back. But Growing up, my parents had us in church. Uh, we st- we started out as early as I can remember at it was called Abundant Life Church out in there, and I think they consider that Mount Healthy or Northwest, somewhere around there. And we went there for a while, so I have very fond memories of church at Abundant Life. I remember great youth pastors like Brother Mahathi and Sister Mahathi. I remember jumping through the basketball net at church. You know, you shoot it and then the balls roll down. I tried to block it in the middle and fell through and broke the whole machine. So I remember times of good and them yelling at me, but we kind of started there. My parents were very involved, even though they both worked. My dad got me into sports early, so I have fond memories of basketball and soccer and t-ball. And then as we got a little older, we went to a church called Courts of Praise that was in Fairfield. So great times there. The church was growing, very diverse church. They really believed in a lot of praise and worship. So I remember all the singing and people running around on Sundays. So those were fond memories. And just like every family, there's times where there's hurdles and different things that shape you. But today I'll harp mostly on some of the positive moments. But one of the defining moments was just my dad was trying to teach me the best way he knew how to be a man or a young boy. And he was raised by a single mom. His dad left when he was like 12 or 13. So he had to be the man of the household at an early age. So I remember a time my neighbor took my ball from me and I came crying to my father, and he gave me a whooping and said, you know, don't ever come to me crying about this. Go out there and get your ball back. And, you know, to his defense, he was trying to build me up because he felt I was, you know, a little emotional and not bold to defend myself. So we talked through that as an older adult, but what it did birth in me is I ran back out there, jumped on that kid. And you just can't do that when you turn 18, right? So it birthed kind of a fighter spirit in me. But today, even though it could have been deemed as harmful, he could have walked it out with me where we talked to the kid, his grandmother, and like, hey, we don't do this type of behavior, you know, try to work it out in conversation. But the positive note, even though it started taking me down a tough direction of just being going from 0 to 100, over time as I returned to the Lord, it gave me boldness, and I turned that feeling into something that I could use for the Lord, and that's just being bold and open about my faith versus lashing out and being aggressive physically. So there was some beauty in that, even though it birthed a fighter spirit in me. Some could deem as bad.
Yeah, good, man. I mean, thanks for sharing that. So it's interesting. It sounds like your faith was a huge part of your life. So if you can, take us back to that moment in time, if you remember when your faith really started to becoming important to you, where it was something that you would think about and say, hey, I need to pursue this, and this is the direction I want to go.
Yeah, so as I look back, the Lord definitely had a calling on my life, just like he can have a calling on anybody's life. I'm not, ultra special in that way. But I remember a moment when we were still at Abundant Life, and I can't remember if we had went there and left and came back for a while, but whatever happened, it was around the year 1999 and 2000. And I remember just being at church one night and everybody freaking about Y2K, right? And but there was a time then where I was going from elementary school into junior high. And you get to junior high, I was good at basketball and track, and that brought, the attention of the little girls. And I had friends sneaking me records that are from Lincoln Heights, like Snoop Dogg, Tupac, uh, Master P, C Murder, all these rap artists that my parents would never let me listen to, but I had the albums because friends were and associates were letting me borrow them or making the CDs for me or tapes. And it started to really try to shape uh, a different identity than how my parents were trying to raise me. And I started trying to fit in with the wrong crowd. And so I knew the Lord looking back was with me because I still had this tension in my heart. So that moment I remember where faith really started to faith versus the world, that tension started was when it came to that music. And one night at the church, they had some Christian rap artists, Robert Lazarus Smith. They used to call him Lazarus. And I remember he had this big gold chain, ham bone. That's how I always remember Rob. And I just remember this guy, 6'8", 6'6", big old dude, either in high school or just out of high school, worshiping God through his music and on his face in tears. And I'm like, man, guys do this type of thing. And, I'm like, man, he's a gospel, like a rapper, like crying and stuff and crying out for God. I'm like, what is this about? So during that time, I really started saying, man, I'm looking at this big, thick book of CDs I had of this bad music. And him just talking to me like, man, you got to get rid of that stuff. And then encouraging my little friends that where I was bringing to church with me and different things like, man, we really got to get rid of these albums. And I remember that was kind of the first time the Lord was really, I feel like speaking to me that I can remember, like just around those CDs. And I'm like, man, I got like 200 CDs and you want me to give it up, Lord?
Yeah, that's a lot of money, huh?
Well, also you was burning them CDs too. Some were bought, some were given to me by friends, traded, that type of thing. But anyway, I ended up throwing that big CD case away, man. And I just remember that moment of tension. That's the first time I really put my faith in action and try to fight the flesh with that tension of like, man, should I be listening to this stuff, man? Or should I throw it away and get something better else in my system?
So you had that encounter with Lazarus, and then music. So that music was like, okay, I need to, I hear this music, this big guy, Lazarus is singing, it's getting me excited, and he's like worshiping the Lord. And it's, sounds like it caused you to rethink whatever was going on in your life at that time.
For sure. There was others like D-Mob and Donnie and just guys that my mom got me around the church scene. I started hearing them guys, what they were talking about. And it just, some of the music I liked. So I was just like, oh, this is different. There's an alternative to the type of music I like, but it's just a totally different message. And it's about God and faith and serving him. So it definitely made an impact in my life.
How old were you around that time when this happened? Were you high school? Were you a teen? Like, what was your age? How old were you around that time?
This was 7th, 8th grade, somewhere around there. So 13, 14 years old. So it was interesting time because it felt like, the Lord was wooing me. But then, you getting all these attention from these little girls and, getting the big head and you start having girlfriends and different things. So that became a real tension for a long time into my high school years, even through college and as a young adult male. That tension was always there.
Yeah, well, take us on that. Take us on that journey. Take us on that journey that you were going through mentally emotionally and physically, that tension you were feeling through those years, up into your college days.
Yeah. So again, there was that tension of the music I was listening to, because you're 7th, 8th grade listening to music, talking about sleeping with girls and different things. These people that are making the music in their early 20s. So it's like a 13, 14-year-old shouldn't be listening to things like that. So those thoughts, the ideas, right, were being planted. And so 7th, 8th grade, 4th, 5th, 6th grade playing basketball circuit, 7th, 8th grade on some of the best teams in the city, heads getting bigger. 8th grade, we go 12-0. Didn't lose a game. We had one of my buddies growing up, Jarrell, was really good. He was, dunking in 7th grade, 6th grade, great athlete. So we found success, and by 9th grade, I was really good at track. So 9th grade, I got moved up to varsity halfway through the season in basketball, and track. I was running the 400 as a freshman. So, as an 8th grader, I was talking to 11th grader in high school, right? I knew at a young age, like, wow, this sports, man, can really attract the ladies. And I fought my parents to go. They wanted me to go to all boys school. I fought them hard on that. But looking back, I encourage young men, especially in junior high, high school, that are thinking through some of these things. If you got godly parents, listen to their advice. Because as an adult, I look back at some of those decisions I made, and I'm like, dang, I should have went to that all boys school. It may have kept me from some of this tension that I was fighting against between sports, girls. And I always say, like, the average American male, you get thrown into sports as a young man, in school, sports become your idol almost. It's all day. They start to strip the emotions out of you. Don't cry. You get hit in a football field, break your finger. Don't cry. So as a young man, I always say you can see the shift in young men when they would get in arguments or fights and they're crying and boo-hooing when they're upset. When they stop doing that, when they stop crying, man, something has shifted. Something has shifted in that young man's life, to where instead of releasing that externally, they're holding it in internally. And that's what it became for me. And then, so by the time high school came, it was school, sports, and girls. That's all my mind was on. It was really the two, sports and girls. And that kind of drove me by default into college. And I had some rocky roads, some inconsistent behaviors. Even though I was very good early, I stopped working as hard. The coaches, they tried to push me, but my head was this big. And so I would quit track every year, even though I was good. I would fight my dad around it. Like, you're not telling me what to do. I don't have to do this. I was being rebellious. We were getting physical fights a few times. And looking back, it was mostly me bucking and just being hard-headed and ugly and being combative. So by the time 11th grade hit, my basketball coach was, at the time, I felt playing a lot of games. And it just became a toxic situation for me. I found out that after my 11th grade year, we did really well. I think we made it to the Sweet 16. And we felt pretty good about, coming back next year to win it all state. But I chose to move to Louisiana. I remember going down there for a week. My uncle showing me if I was, 17, he was 27. So as an uncle showing you Bourbon Street and, downtown, I'm like, man, I don't want to go back to Cincinnati. Like, this is the life. So I convinced my parents to let me move down with my grandmother. My dad and I were having some tension. I kind of sold it as I would help my grandmother because she had battled her second stint of cancer then. And I was going to go down there, try to play basketball, met the coach and everything. And about right before basketball season start, the head coach up here in Cincinnati at Princeton, where I went, called me with some of my friends on the phone and like, hey, man, come back. We got a great chance to do well. And when I got back, he benched me, man. And that was tough. It birthed more anger and rage, and to the point where one day I went to see him in his office, man, and I looked under his desk and I see a big bag of letters. Being a nosy kid, I opened it and I saw that he was holding my letters from me for college visits and college. So being in the headspace I lashed out. I pushed him, and the assistant coach grabbed me and said, "Man, don't do this, Ashton. You can quit the team if you want to, but if you hit him or something, you might go to jail." And Ed Blankenship, I give him a lot of credit. He may not even remember that moment, but I do. And he really saved me that day from getting in a lot of trouble. But I ended up quitting my senior year. I didn't play my senior year, and that led me go to a place of bitterness. Just finished my senior year out. I ended up trying out for junior colleges. I ended up going to college to play ball, but it became a rocky road for me to get to where I was really, really good, ranked in the state as a young man, to going down that rocky road in sports, to where I never thought I would have gotten to. You think in high school, you play your 4 years, you keep getting better, and if you're good enough, you go on to the next level. And I just had to go a different route to get to there. And then by the time I was in college, it was still the same thing, girls and sports. And so I got injured, slipped my disc after my second year at JUCO playing ball. I had opportunities to go to some other schools, but I just couldn't get the back healthy enough. And then I got food poisoning one time on the way to go to a visit to a school down in Kentucky. And it just was like, things were just like not falling into place. I'm like, what is going on, Lord? And I just ended up transferring to UC. I was trying to get healthy, and I just finished school there. But it was a wake-up call for me, because from the time I was in, seventh, eighth grade, it was sports and girls. And then when sports was taken away, I had a really defining moment, like, what am I going to do with my life from this point on?
Yeah.
And I thought about coming back and trying. I mean, I go compete with some of the team at UC, and at the time they were in coach transition after Huggins left, so they were recruiting guys from the football team. So a few guys I was training with, they made it to the team, and I just couldn't get healthy enough, man. My back kept giving out on me. So up until that point, that was kind of my life. Tension with my dad, even though he was a great father, provided for me. I was just, man, I had my head up in the sky, man. I wouldn't listen to nobody. I just had this whole thing I felt figured out. And looking back, I didn't get to really know my little brother well. Like, I didn't know him well because he was a gamer and stuff. So a lot of times, first thing in the morning, I'm calling all my friends. I'm headed to the gym, and he's at the house playing video games all day. So, those bring some sad memories too, because it's like, dang, I didn't really know my brother, my little brother. Like, I wasn't there to protect him. I was just focused on me and what I was thought I was trying to accomplish, even though it was a lot of toxicity in there, especially with like young ladies, and just not focusing on my craft. And my dad tried. I was just a knucklehead, man. So that was kind of my story up until college. And then once I got to UC, I met a group of Christians that were doing Bible studies, and I was just at a all-time low mentally. And I'm like, man, I just need to finish school. And really that started changing my life around then when I met that group of Christians that I'm like, man, they're in college doing Bible studies and going to church on Sunday. And that really what kind of brought it home for me Really, when I got to UC, my buddy Ricardo played a huge role in my life during that time. He was a guy I looked up to, and he was a little bit older, doing clothes and fashion. He's like, "Man, you want to help me with my fashion company?" And we started a little business in college and had a little office downtown. We were doing um, marketing, graphic design, web design, and I mean, we were scaling a business as college kids at the tail end, and uh, he was really big in my life during that time. It was a young man that I could walk with together with him towards the Lord, and I didn't have
Yeah.
that with some of my other friends growing up. So that's kind of where life started taking me up into college.
Hmm. Yeah, I hear challenging. Sounds like it was a challenging time.
Yeah, like I said, at home, my parents provided for me. They had a roof over my head, but you start to try to live up to a different identity, not a godly identity. You know, when you got the rap music in your ear, you try to live that out. You know, you got the little girls in your ear, and you're this and that, and you're rebelling against the parents. So a lot of that, looking back, was just the enemy trying to take me out, really. And
Mm.
um, you know, you could try to blame things on your parents, but looking back, it was a lot of it was just me and the spirits I was allowing around me and dealing with. I didn't know none of that stuff then. The music I was listening to, and it was causing me to be rebellious, man. And
Yeah.
uh, um, you know, looking back, I know God can redeem time, and He has, and I have a great relationship with my parents today, and my dad and everything. But there was turbulent seasons, and a lot of it just had to do with me being rebellious. And you know,
Yeah.
any father ain't gonna let you buck that hard. They're gonna push back. So I love my parents, and I appreciate everything they've done for me.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So yeah, Rico was definitely a great friend, a young man I looked up to. One was striving after the Lord and striving after aspirations just to do better in life, do business, fashion, the whole 9 yards. So um, through that relationship and the business we had started, we we wanted to give back, and that you know, at that time I really didn't know what philanthropy was, but Rico did, and we started a nonprofit called Osir Philanthropy. It was based off the business Osir Business, and I knew this Spanish teacher at Aiken, and she was like, "Man, you're an awesome young man. I would love for you to come speak to some of our kids, especially the young men." And I was like, "Well, I got my buddy Rico. We can maybe do something together. We're trying to start this nonprofit." And so I remember meeting with a guy named Paul McMillan in from the Cincinnati area. Was a great basketball player and been around youth and youth sports for years now. But Paul at the time was the school resource coordinator at the school, and he had us come in. Rico and I put like a proposal together like the day before, his last minute. And Paul looked at it. Joy was an advocate. Joy Marino was her name, and she was an advocate. So basically, they put us with 10 young men who were at one point had great grades, but through peer pressure and life circumstances, some were purposely just not doing good because of bullying or being made fun of. And so these were 10 young men that they identified as needing some young men that were older in their lives. And so we put together like a 8 to 10 week proposal of what we'll talk about around manhood, godly manhood, that type of thing. And at the old high school there at Aiken, their library was like in the basement. It was like in a dungeon. I don't remember windows being in that thing. And basically, we would come in on Fridays. We got approved, And every Friday we would come in and talk to these young men about manhood and godly manhood and how to treat women. And we were coming up with some creative lessons to really get them thinking. And it was kind of around the model of like build them up in their idea, break their idea down, and then build them up in a godly idea. And that's kind of how each of our lessons were built. And I know we don't have time to get into some of the cool lesson plans that we had, but a brief one was, I always like to share this one. I would bring the young men in. I would have like women artists that they knew, right? And I will put like 8 of them on the screen on the first slide. And it'll be from like the lightest skin one to the darkest skin one, right?
Yeah.
In that order. And then the first question was like, who would you cheat on your girlfriend for? And all of them would come in and say, oh, her. So we already knew where their mentality was, that they were cheaters.
Mm-hmm.
And then from that point, I'd be like, okay, well, if one of them came in here and all her clothes fell off, what would y'all do? Oh, bro, we around train and woo. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I said, all y'all done did it. I said, so now what if she holler rape? What if one of y'all get her pregnant and your baby comes from this interaction? What if she has AIDS and all her faces start changing, right? They're like, oh, we're not thinking about it. I say, now what if that was your mother or father? Or you're not your mother or father, but your mother or your sister? What would you do? I'll grab her. I'll go. So their mentality just started shifting quick. And then I say, man, this is what godly character looks like. This is a godly man wouldn't do that. He's a courageous protector. Mm-hmm. He's a protector of women, whether it's not a relative or not. And so we were walking these young men through how to change their mentality. So by the end of it, we created a mentor-mentee walk. So we try to recruit young men like ourselves to mentor these 10 kids. And we try to get each 10 of them hooked up with a mentor that will mentor them for a year. We did a walk where we had the UC football team, a few of the players come out. Shout out to Torrey Cornett and some of the guys who were willing to come out, talk to the kids. We had a consultant that we were both getting mentored by, Jim Reed from Atlanta. He flew up for free, man. This dude was getting paid $30,000 a speech session. And he was speaking at UC, and we centered around his work schedule, his time here, and he came out, spoke, and we also for my capstone project, we collected a whole bunch of Bibles and sent them to Kenya, Africa. So I kind of intermingled this project with my capstone project for college, and from that was my first time like, I really want to give back to the community. I really want to be a godly influence for young men. And that from there, when the business didn't work out later, the crash of the economy around 2008, 9, 10, somewhere around there, I was trying to work with the business with Ricardo, but I was also teaching the after-school program at South Avondale as an elementary school in Avondale here. From there, I got recruited to work at Pleasant Ridge Montessori. Then from there, one of the therapists like, man, you really good with the kids. And then she worked for the Children's Home of Cincinnati. And she introduced me to a hiring manager there, had a few conversations with them. And then I ended up at the Children's Home in a partial hospitalization program. And that kind of really started my journey in serving the community and working in nonprofit. And so today I do fundraising for different organizations like Habitat for Humanity. And I've done them for like Meals on Wheels and a few other organizations. And through that process, it caused me to know the Lord, want to be an example to young men, my community. And it brought me to a place now that having to take care of mentally unstable people. I've worked with adults with disabilities and had to change grown people's diaper early in my career and different things. it also, I think, prepared me to be a father, a husband, to walk in humility, because I've seen people at the worst of the worst in some very bad spiritually and mental places. Also, people with disabilities that can't feed themselves or change themselves, can't move, only can drink water, or not even drink water. They can't even drink. They can only be fed through a tube on the side of their stomach. Um, it really shaped my early working life. And through that process, I was a youth pastor at a few churches, and just been working with youth and men, and it all started from that time in Rico and Osir Business, and when we started Osir Philanthropy, it birthed looking back, it birthed my career and life path, serving God. So in the community.
Mm. Yeah, that's a awesome story, Ashton. It's awesome.
Appreciate it, man.
I mean, I'm learning. I've learned some things about you that I didn't know, and being able to hear. It sounds like after your not just the encounter, right, the mentorship that you went through with Rico, but just your life story. The journey of going down to Louisiana and thinking that you were going to play basketball down there, being asked to come back by your coach and other players on a phone call just to be benched. Like all that was, it seems like all those experiences actually help shape who you are today.
Yeah, for sure. You could always look back and wish you could have did it different, or wish you could have read through the lies that the coach was telling me, to even one day having to forgive that coach, right? To you know, not pushing my kids to play sports. So yeah, all of it. I want them to be successful at whatever they want to do, whether that's music, science, bugs, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Trying to let my children enjoy their childhood, because, like I said, I love basketball and soccer and stuff, so I liked it. But um, I put a lot of investment in those things, and so I'm learning to allow my kids to explore and just be kids for a while.
Mm.
And if it's God's will, He'll let them play sports. Or so trusting God even with my kids, protecting what they look at at TV, monitoring what music they listen to. My parents did monitor some of that stuff, but I went around it. So, but yeah, I'm just trying to do things differently. We're even thinking about homeschool. That's a leap of faith for me. Trusting God. My wife, runs her own business at home. Letting her stay and have her dreams of being a stay-at-home mom be fulfilled, and letting her and working with her on starting her business, and her allowing her to have that footing to walk in her giftings, right? It's not just all about me. So being a courageous protector of my wife and my kids, and learning to cry in front of them, and how I talk to them, and learning how to be tender plus tough, right? So, all those things growing up have definitely shaped who I am. And some of them, the bad things, how it shaped me, had to take those things to the Lord. Like, for example, I can't always yell at my kids,
Yeah.
that can't be my first go-to when I'm frustrated and things like that. So those are some things I don't want to do with mine. So yeah, I learned a lot, man.
Yeah, man. That's awesome, Ashton. That's awesome. So today, that leaves us to present day, right? The work you're doing. And I know I know you personally, so I know you are a courageous protector. But I also know you also did something. You and your wife have a podcast. and something else, a book, right? So, why don't you share with our audience a little bit about the things you're doing now and how we can reach you, how we can see you, how we can purchase your book?
Yeah. So right now I do fundraising for Habitat. I help my buddy Lou with Thyro Security Solutions. So if you're into home protection and commercial real estate protection or uh, that type of thing, look at thyrosecurity-solutions.com. We started a podcast through our journey called Healed Home, Healed Society. So we really felt as we were serving the Lord and doing ministry together that we can't really do that without our home being healed first. And individual, myself being healed and whole. And then from that, that oozes out of us into our community. So we put ourselves out there having house church, building the community that we wanted to have around us, spending time in other people's lives and they in our lives, to where we're doing stuff at our church now, Sozo Loveland Church. And we have the podcast we're currently doing on YouTube and Spotify, Healed Home, Healed Society. And then, yes, I wrote a book called A Shared Battle. Currently, you can get on Amazon.com. If you just type in Ashton L Wilson, it'll come up. And then you can get it on my wife's website at Alexis Nickell, that's Nickelle co.com. And she has her candle business. And we do some speaking together. She does candle making workshops. My book's on there. So really invest in her business as well. And we're working on a book together currently. So that's what we have going on and just raising our 3 kiddos.
You have a lot going on, 3 babies, multiple businesses, and still trying to maintain your friendships and be a blessing to people. So it's awesome, Ashton. I definitely have enjoyed getting to know you. I know when we reconnected, I shared with you that I was going to be very intentional about building our friendship. So I'm excited to continue in that friendship and to have you on this podcast.
Yeah, man. Congratulations on the podcast, man. I love the idea, the thought around it. And, I'll give people insight on our inside joke. I call him Milk Dud, y'all. So I love him a lot, but that's the inside joke. So
yeah, that's the inside joke, baby. Well, everyone, I want to thank you. Thank you for joining us here at Courageous Protectors. Continue to love people, love them well, and continue to be courageous protectors. That's a wrap on this episode of Courageous Protectors. If you enjoyed this episode, please share this episode and podcast with your friends and family. Please encourage them to subscribe also. Let them know how much you enjoyed this podcast. We're trying to grow a community of courageous protectors. Until next time, stay strong, stay courageous, and be blessed.
That's a wrap on this episode of Courageous Protectors. We hope you've been inspired by the bravery, resilience, and dedication of what you heard today. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to subscribe and share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. Until next time, stay strong, stay vigilant, and be blessed. Take care.